Guess who's coming to dinner tonight? Guess who's coming to dinner tonight? All you wanna do is have a good time, good time. All you wanna do is have a good time, good time. Oh, heaven, let me to space, heaven, let me to space, heaven. All you wanna do is have a good time. Get some friends over and have a glass of wine.
Hi, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and you're watching, apparently, the only Star Wars podcast about Perrin, or Mr. Mothma, if you want to bust his chops. Anyways,
Jason,
yeah,
Jason, when the song played, I was thinking, had this taken place in the Mando timeline, you could have been, guess who's coming to Din Jenner?
Din Jenner. Yeah, I know.
Jenner. Yeah. Clever.
Yeah.
Dead fun. All right.
Yeah, Din DeJaren, Din de Perrin. Could he be a Mandalorian? I mean,
if he didn't take that helmet off,
right? Mon Mothma's ex.
Do you think Perrin's Mando helmet would still have the little bun thing, the little just a spot for it to go through?
Yeah, like a little
Clone Wars cartoon.
A little fin, like a little fin that comes out when his little man bun sits in there. Those little chopsticks that go in there or whatever. Yeah, I think so. So anyways, I watched the old Tales of the Jedi again. Give it a old, not watching it on 2 hours sleep viewing finally. My takeaway on the whole thing is the Ahsoka stuff saw a big who gives a fuck. And the I mean, it's like supplementary material that's not, it's not bad if you're a super fan and you have like an Ahsoka back tattoo. It's probably like something that you're interested in. It's not offensive, but it's not really necessary. Whereas on the flip side, I think the Dooku stuff is actually a bit more thought-provoking in terms of what it contributes to the Star Wars prequels. Like in terms of Count Dooku, well, let me not get ahead of myself too much, but here's my praise and my critique at the same time. Is on one hand, it's very logical. It makes really good sense about how a Jedi goes from being a pragmatic idealist who doesn't care about how the political structure is working because it's already broken. He's frustrated that he wants to help people. He's mad that his hands are tied about being able to do the right thing, what people need. He can't do it in that system because it's been molested and corrupted by Palpatine. It's broken, and he knows it. And it's like, so it's like a different level for him. And in a way, it makes interesting questions about Qui-Gon Jinn. Would Qui-Gon have turned to the dark side, so to speak, with him? He might have. It's really kind of up for debate. But you have all of that. And it's super fascinating and it makes sense. But then the problem I end up coming to with it is the prequels have no payoff to that. The Clone Wars cartoon has no payoff to that. There's not, you have your Count Dooku, oh shit, motherfucker just cut off my hands. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? You're going to scissor my head? Seriously? And then that happens. And like that happens to him. But once it's like, once he becomes Count Dooku, he's just kind of Count Dooku. And like, I feel like the narrative of the Clone Wars.
It should be Darth Tyrannus, because every time you say Dooku, man.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Darth T-Rex. Once Darth T-Rex starts doing his thing,
he cuts off his little tiny T-Rex hands. Isn't that funny?
What I think is that, because I mean, Star Wars it's never like the ship has never sailed on Star Wars, right? Like they could always add something. There could always be something that
Sure.
fixes something, that kind of jazz. And I think in the future, one of these future Tales of the Jedi things or a Clone Wars thing or something like that, we need to see Count Dooku doing something right for people, for the Separatist people. Because you can be evil and do good. You can be evil and intend to do good. I mean, that's one of the things about like the Anakin conundrum from the very start, is Anakin is trying to do good things for the wrong reasons.
Just keeps killing all them kids on accident.
Yeah, I know. But then he loses. Yeah, he loses his way. Yeah, but you end up. But the thing about it with like Count Dooku is he is still leading like a political movement. So I do feel like, so like on one hand, like you have Dooku in that first episode, or the first Dooku episode. They tried to kind of massage it a little bit by putting the Ahsoka episode, then the Dooku episodes, and then the Ahsoka, part. And they tried to make it an Ahsoka sandwich, but it doesn't really play better that way, in my opinion. So don't watch it that way if you haven't. If you haven't, just watch all the Ahsokas, watch all the Dookus. Just a better way to watch it, I think. But anyways, but you have him, and he's landing on this planet, and he's with Mace Windu, and the senator's son, like from the fucking Creedence Clearwater Revival songs, there, that kid, that senator's son, he's there, and Filoni's like, I ain't no senator's son. All right, let's put him in. He's in the movie. he fucking went up straight up Gremlins 2 with it. He's in the movie.
Jason, I don't know if you're aware of this, but originally we were going to have a music video theme song for Jedi called Bib Fortunate Son.
Bib Fortunate Son. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't no Fortuna son.
Ain't no Fortuna son. Yeah. We nixed that. We were going to put it in the sequels, or the prequels, or whatever you want to call them. And
yeah.
But then 98 Degrees wouldn't cover it. So I...
Is it true every time you swipe your ATM card, you go, A1awanga?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense why you do that now.
That never gets old, Jason. Never gets old. Yeah. Even now that I can't swipe, I have to put the chip in. I have to put this chip, Jason. You seen the chip?
Yeah, you're so rich you don't swipe your own ass. That's what you're trying to say. I get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to Target. I got some new Clone Wars toys in. Peace.
You have a Target card and you save 5%. I know, George.
He's frugal, bro. He's frugal.
Yeah, he
likes
is.
to go shopping with Rosie O'Donnell. That's how they save their money.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, but anyways, I like to. There is some really smart stuff going on. Like I don't want to just like go, it doesn't meet my high standards for Star Wars animation in 2022. The actual like the idea of putting Mace
2022 animation standards have fallen on the Star Wars.
But Dooku, but Count Dooku with Mace Windu on the mission together before they're both on the council, really smart. And then we see Mace Windu, and did that guy ever have fucking any sensitivity or bedside manner in his whole fucking life? Like, he has none. Like Dooku at the end of it, Dooku's like, what the fuck, dude? Did you know you got promoted? And like that whole thing was because you were already on the inside with them, kind of thing,
To be fair, Jason, I only sat through the first 2 episodes, so I haven't seen
I know
this one yet.
Yeah. He goes, okay, yeah. He goes like, yeah. At the end, Mace Windu was promoted, and then he's like, did you know? And he's like, Mace is like, no, I didn't know, but I did the right thing and you didn't, so I got the reward. And Dooku's like, fuck you. And I was like,
have you
fuck
not
you.
Seen Charlie in the Chocolate Factory?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
But
I mean, but you see Qui-Gon, like Qui-Gon Jinn and Dooku are in some ways the same person. I have a feeling that just because of the romanticism of the characters, Filoni would probably say that Qui-Gon would have done the right thing. But Qui-Gon didn't get to live to be Count Dooku necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't stay. Like, Qui-Gon was already against the council, already in the same opposition that Dooku was. He was Dooku's student, and he literally like is just like, oh fuck those guys, we're gonna take this boy, we're gonna do this. He's like doing his own thing pretty much already, and so it's kind of hard to say if when the Clone Wars happened, what side would he have been on? I thought that was more interesting. He does see Count Dooku doing like some dark side shit throughout the narrative, and is like, I don't know about that, man. But at the same time, that senator deserved to get his ass choked out. Like if anything, Dooku should have like fucking moved him over with the Force and have been like, let the villagers choke him out.
That's look. There's a lot of things one can do, in any superhero style story. Where you can go, why didn't they use their powers this way or that way? So I try not to do that, because you gotta utilize the abilities of a superpowered individual to the needs of your story. I understand it. The problem is with the way George set up the Jedi in the prequels is that they're like guys who just defend. We're just defenders. We don't actually attack, which is not what samurai do, right? Like, so it's just something he came up with so they could be seen as the good guys because we just defend. And it's like, all right, well, they can just crush the fucking guns with the Force or swipe them out their fucking hands. You know what I mean? Like
George I think George does do a good job with that though, because he does make them offensive, which is their downfall.
Yeah, but in this particular scene, Dooku and them could just
at this point,
fucking dude's guns or swipe them out. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
So like, it's just one of those things that with the 2 episodes I've seen, it feels like anything else in the prequels where it's an idea, but it's never taken to like the 3rd iteration. It's just kind of like, there's the thing, and you're like, all right, that's cool, but like, had the episode been 2 episodes or one long 30-minute episode or something, and you had seen like Dooku doing something in the beginning where he's like, nah, man, these people, everyone has a chance in life, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, he's out choking a dude, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has to question his own inner belief. And it kind of all happens and,
No, what you're asking for, it does do. You end up with 3 stories. You end up with Dooku and his apprentice, who's Qui-Gon. And then how where we see how he's trying to help people. He literally is a man of the people in this episode, and they're tying his hands. The politics aren't letting him do it. And then in the 2nd episode, he's with Mace Windu, who's just a fucking asshole. And Mace Windu like ends up getting promoted for following policy rather than pragmatism in the moment and doing what's right in the moment. And then in the 3rd one, he's lost all faith and he's turned to the dark side.
I understand this.
Yeah.
When you have, how do I say this? The intricacies of like World War I, right? And all these various treaties and alliances and how it's a war of like people just kind of wanted to go to war because they were bored. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of money to be made, and the Americans are funding the British, so they have to get involved. And there's all this, and Lucas sort of tries to distills that down to, a cartoon level understanding. I don't know if it works, man. And what they try to do visually is they try to throw in like bits of Miyazaki, like Nausicaa imagery. Like the senator's soldiers are straight out of Nausicaa, right? And you go, well, it's World War II, World War I. I understand that, but and then Filoni in the first episode, I mean, that's all like him trying to do Miyazaki, where they're in a village and you got the trees and you got the little,
it was pretty
looking creatures, right? But the thing that they miss is, Miyazaki borrows from life. The dude walks every day. You know what I mean? He knows his neighborhood. He's helping the disabled. He's cleaning out rivers. He literally went through the atomic bombings. You know what I mean? Like, dude saw a lot of fucking horrendous shit. And I don't think they're putting life experiences into their designs on our side. When they look at Ghibli and they look at Miyazaki's work, that's coming from life experience. And then artists in the West tend to just borrow the aesthetic and go, look, it's like Ghibli. And you're like, no, it's hollow. It's missing the personal loss that whoever directed
those Studio Ghibli things are like interestingly mundane is what I would call them, maybe.
Because Miyazaki really strives on, you have to actually put life. You need to go and like learn people, draw people. This is not how don't imagine how someone says, go and get outside and fucking spend time with them. And when you're writing this stuff, it has to come from a place of personal experience. And you can see him. There's a documentary that's free to watch on NHK, just Miyazaki NHK documentary. It's 4 parts where his son, Goro, was making his first animated film, and Miyazaki's just ripping it to shreds. There's nothing personal here. You're just trying to copy me, mimic me. I could have made, you know what I mean? If I wanted me, I could just make. I don't need you pretending to be me. And this is like a thing when I see Western animators borrow from that. They need to put their personal lives into that story. So the Ahsoka story should have had something in there that Filoni actually experiences. You know, and you kind of get it maybe. I don't know if Filoni's going out hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going out bow and arrow with Joe Rogan and he had to actually knife a fucking... I don't know what the message is to be learned. I don't understand it. And so there's a little bit more with the Dooku side where you go, okay, this is a definite, like, almost a Kurosawa-like setup, right? Where you got like a village and you got like a local warlord who's sort of like letting everything go to shit, and their last resort is to kidnap the warlord's son so that this fucking dude, you know, but it brings down the rain of fire on them, and then the Jedi are in between with the conflict of what side do you take, what do you do? But again, like, I think like the place to put the personal thing from the creators, from the writers, the directors, or whatever, is in the Qui-Gon side of it. And the Qui-Gon side just kind of comes off as stoic and doing the quote unquote right thing, but it's not. I don't know if it's the human element or the senators. Like, it's just there's something missing there, man. It's very surfacey. You know, it has to go deeper. And as an artist, man, it's tough. It's tough to feel like you can, because you're like, I don't know if audiences are going to get this, and it's polarizing sometimes for audiences. But you can't get to like truthful storytelling if you don't have an element of like real personal experience in there, and that's what I feel is missing from a lot of this stuff.
Well, let me ask you this: if you're trying to tell the story about how Qui-Gon is influenced by Count Dooku, but also trying to show Count Dooku as a good man who loses his way eventually, but for very somewhat valid reasons. I mean, remember that's and just to hit on the end of Robert's point here, Dooku claims frustration with the Jedi Council, but yet he's working with the Sith Lord. Remember, he's not working with the Sith Lord for 2/3 of these stories, and also the Sith Lord, like I said earlier, has already manipulated, molested, and polarized the galaxy into a place where the situations that he's working with, those senators being corrupt, Palpatine and the Sith have facilitated that. Democracy doesn't even need the Sith to do that. It just does that itself. Or most political bodies do. But in this instance right here, Palpatine's already helping that. So he's not actually wrong. The wrong part about Count Dooku is when he decides for civil war. When he actually decides, I need to join the Sith to facilitate a civil war. When he gives up on the system and instead of changing the system, decides to destroy the system. That, I think, is the big difference.
And the real like shame of the prequels is none of that's in the movies. You know, like none of it's there. Like, we don't really even know this guy. It just kind of shows up as the next villain du jour in the second film, because we don't have time for Vader yet, and we're not gonna have fucking Palpatine running around, so we gotta invent something. And so it's just one of those things where you're like, again, people go, the story is interesting and complicated and vicious. And the only time I ever really feel it was in the latest episode of Andor when Saw's talking about the Separatists and all these different factions.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, this is World War I. You know what I mean? Where it was really complicated and messy, and you had people couldn't fucking possibly even work together on certain, and they just dragged out an endless fucking war, you know, that eventually fucking led to, you know, another war that led to fascism. So I just think like these cartoons, like this stuff is interesting, right? There's a problem when I see, it's not a Disney thing, it's not a Lucasfilm thing. It's just like an LA, I say LA because most animation that we experience here in the States is developed in Los Angeles. So
Yeah.
I just see them borrowing visually from things, but not taking the lessons or the heart from the material they're pulling from, you know? And I think like maybe that's the Disney.
Well, let me ask you this though.
You know,
if you didn't see the Miyazaki inspiration and we set this like in somewhere else, I guess, would you still have the problem with it? I
have no idea what the first episode's supposed to tell me, other than I really don't. I really.
Okay,
I kind of when she shows Ahsoka, you can't run from death. That's a
the
very
first
interesting-
episode. Oh
Right.
yeah, the first
That's a
episode.
ve-
Yeah,
yeah.
that one.
All right.
Yeah,
When
Yeah,
I
I'm
watched the
with you on
second
that one.
episode, okay, let me move away from the Miyazaki thing. When I watched the second episode, I go, okay, there is a place here for one of my favorite. It's not even a horror film. It's not. It's not it. It's no,
yeah.
I don't know what you'd call it, but one of my favorite old timey films would be The Son of Frankenstein, right? Son of Frankenstein, the art direction. I mean, you can see where Tim Burton straight up just fucking learned everything Tim Burton does. There's but it features Basil Rathbone, the Sherlock Holmes dude, as Frankenstein's kid who's grown up, and they go back to this town and shit. But like when they go to the village and all these villagers are fucking freaked out by the son of Frankenstein, showing up. You know what I mean? And like this reminds me of that sort of thing. Like I was like, I wonder what this episode. I should put this through my black and white filter to see what what it looks like. There is something to be pulled from there, but it doesn't lean into that genre enough for it to, go to that area. It kind of goes to. It's a good setup. I'm just trying to like, it's. I'm trying to find the most human thing or not the Jedi again. And it kind of gets there. But again, I just go, well, he could have just used his force powers to crush the blasters and we would be done with this story. So it's just one of those things where had there been something extra, like they had done that, they'd gotten rid of the blasters, but that's irrelevant because maybe they got bombs or something else. You have to push that scenario a little bit more forward. Unless it's, because this isn't for kids. This episode is not an 8-year-old's thing, you know what I mean? Like it's like a 12-year-old's thing. It's more Batman animated series, but Batman animated series, at least in those first couple seasons, had like some great tragic bit to it, right? And this sort of sweetly resolves at the end of the episode that the tragedy's coming later, kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I like I said, it doesn't offend me that yet the first episode exists. If somebody likes it, then hey, I'm glad. You know what I mean? It didn't really, it wasn't a question I was always asking. When you put it with the big question, like who deleted Camino from the archives? Like that's a big one. I saw that on screen. I appreciate that. Like I am appreciative that I have now seen all of the stuff that led to that moment and seeing that moment. It helps. I feel like Star Wars is enhanced by it. Baby Ahsoka not getting killed by a poorly designed saber-toothed tiger. When I say poorly designed, I mean it looks too much like something I might have seen in a dinosaur book as a kid, prehistoric times from National Geographic for kids.
It looks very Dragon Quest, which I'm.
It
fine
doesn't.
with.
It doesn't look Star Wars
but
enough to me on that one, on that design.
It's definitely. But this is the thing, like. The only thing I can relate this thing to is Visions. And where I go, Visions is 10 times more interesting for me is that you had different voices in every anthology episode coming forward and getting a different look, a different tone. So like here I'm like, all right, this is like a 15, you clock it, you're like 16 minutes. I don't care what it says. There's like 4 minutes of credits.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 15 minutes of something that you folks have already gotten used to having like 24 episodes of or something. So it's an odd bit of like, it's not really an anthology thing because an anthology implies like, this is the weird story and this is the different weird story. It's just these little snippets, wrapped around a thing called Tales of the Jedi. I don't know. Like, again, it all feels like an idea that could have been fleshed into something more like I don't want to say Crypt Keeper-y, but if there was like a goof little, like, if these things were an hour, if it was an hour movie and there was like a central narrator going through the archives or the holocron or some little bit tying it together, it could be more fun. But it's just these little bits.
If you watch the other ones, I'm not sure if you would feel that way about. I'm talking about like just like the Dooku arc. Explicitly, I'm not sure if you.
I'm gonna have to watch all of them because
yeah,
but I do it begrudgingly. You
Well,
know,
no,
for the
don't.
show.
If you don't, yeah, if you're
I
not,
like
if you
how
don't,
you
if
told
hate
me
the
not
first
to.
one-
Then this morning, like, I need you to watch this. I'm like, well, do you want me to watch it or not, Jason?
No.
I would have watched them all last
I
night.
said you don't have to, and then I was like, the Dooku one's good, and then
I
you watch
have
the
to.
Ahsoka one, and
I
then I
have
was like, well, if you watch the Ahsoka one, watch the Dooku one because that's at least discussable. The Ahsoka one is just like, I'm a cute baby. For some reason, this thing doesn't kill me.
Yeah, I don't know. It steals you, but then it's gonna eat you later. It's just one of those things where whatever needed to happen kind of had to happen on that field. But
Mhm.
it's just it's very surface level. You know, it needs to go further, and so that's just it. But look, that's not taking away from people's enjoyment of it. Just
Yeah.
as an artist, like I'm like, yeah, I guess what happens when you're in charge of everything, you just don't, like I know it's like when an art director tells you to kind of go further and then they turn in stuff and you're like, but did you do any of that shit you told me, man? Like, does this guy now have to be held to the same standards as everyone else in this office? So that's just that thing. I just wish it was visually, I'd say this, like, if it's gonna look like sculpted 3D textured people, I wish all this stuff was in stop motion. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah, but I mean,
I personally, I'm not saying for you, Jason. I
Yeah.
personally am not a fan of this look of 3D animation. I've never
Okay.
been. So it's
but
not my
this
thing.
look of 3D animation looks 5 times better than when it started in the Clone Wars movie. So let's not
Okay.
let's
All
give
right.
them that.
And I still
then
think it would have all aged better if it was 2D.
what I mean, it's like, what's better? It just not you do it in shorts or you don't do it at all. I take the shorts in this instance. You know what I mean? Doing
Okay.
it in shorts. I
All
mean,
right.
well, I mean, we could be all or nothing about some things, and then we could bitch about for 20 years we never
I
knew
think
deleted the things in the archives. But now
Okay, but
I got
I think
that. Now I
the way
know,
Visions
and it's
was
fine.
done. But the way Visions was done to me was more interesting this by leaps and bounds.
Mhm.
It's not
Well,
even close.
I mean,
It's not even close. It's
I don't
not even
know.
close
It's
for me.
just it seems beside the it's kind of like beside the point though. I mean,
But
what
both
this
are
one is.
15, 8-minute little bits, strung
Yeah.
together for about an hour.
Yeah.
Released, so it's sort of that's the only thing I can relate to what they're doing,
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
that's the thing is I don't know if they're ever going to let outside Japanese companies have touch the lore. I don't know, and that's one of the things with like Filoni. Would Filoni have ever have let anybody who did Visions touch this content, or is this stuff that he's been salivating
This
to
is
do
sacred
himself?
content.
You know what I mean? To him, I don't blame him. You know what I mean? Like if I were him, I would be like, nah.
He needs
I'm
to go.
good.
He hasn't learned but he hasn't gone. Then he hasn't gone through the full George Lucas journey of eventually
Mm-hmm.
someone else will take over all your shit and do whatever they want with it. And he needs to
Well,
learn this, Jason. He
For
needs to
$4 billion,
learn.
yeah, that's how it goes. But I don't know what Filoni gets when he retires. Probably a gold watch,
A gold hat. No, he
a
gets
gold hat. Yeah. No, but I
And
mean,
a gift card to In and Out.
what I'm trying to say though is that like within the genre and specifics of the show itself, they were like, we're going to do more of the quote Clone Wars project, if you will, and this looks so much better than anything that they ever did. And on the week that they release the best looking thing Dave Filoni's ever done in CGI, I'm not going to go, well, it would be cooler if it was fucking claymation or something. I mean, it's like, I mean, let's give them this one for the genre that they are agreeing to do this in the medium. I should say,
call this thing
did a good
Tales
job.
of the Clone Wars, because Tales of the Jedi just implies. I mean, Jedi around for millennia. You could jump around.
How
all
does
over
Tales of
place.
the Jedi imply an anthology series with all kinds of different formats? It doesn't. It
Tales
doesn't. Yeah, but that doesn't.
of Jedi, but it's
I mean,
really all Tales of the Clone Wars.
But no, it's not. Actually, only one episode in this whole thing even takes place. In fact, Only one episode takes place
Tales of
during
the
Clone Wars.
Jedi's from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, but I mean, just saying no. Like the majority of it is not. Yeah, is pre Clone Wars, and that's why we never got these stories and any other mediums. Like we saw one shot of little baby Ahsoka being handed over by Plo Koon, and I kind of thought that maybe there would be a really good Plo Koon arc in this story based off of that and the fact that Homeboy loves Plo Koon. But that's what makes me think that maybe there's a season 2 of this, like, up here, a hope. You know what I mean? And but I mean, I don't disagree with you in the sense that it I like the idea of them experimenting more, but that's what Visions 2 is going to be. Visions 2 is I think leaving Asia exclusively behind, and it's going to supposedly, if I remember correctly, it's going to experiment with other animation studios from South America and stuff, right? I think that's what they're doing.
Sure. I'm also thinking, they started this 2D, these Star Wars cartoon experiment, with Gendy, and then Lucas eventually did his own thing with it. And when I look at how Gendy became, when you haven't seen Primal, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't watched Primal.
When you see Primal and you see where Filoni's gone, you're like, well, one has seriously grown, and the other is just doing what everyone likes, fan faves. VH1 pop rocks. So like, I'm just mad, and the Primal something else, dog. Like,
Filoni,
and it will age forever, dude.
Filoni's gone and done live action with Mandalorian and the Ahsoka series, so we will be able to say if Filoni's grown as well or not.
I'm talking about in the realm of storytelling and animation. I'm not talking about whatever, because he graduated to whatever.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if it's a graduate.
Frank Miller directed live action as well too, but so what? So
but you were making it sound like Dave Filoni's still just doing this, but that's not true. He's running a live action production.
All right,
studio.
but he just did this, so I'm comparing his new animation to Primal, and I'm saying, like, I think Star Wars would benefit more from the Primal than from this Hallmark special stuff.
Where I
admit the Dooku stuff is far better, it's not even close. But
also remember that Dave Filoni did this shit on the weekends, basically. You know what I mean? This is a side project. This isn't like a main project.
First, he went to the skateboard tournament.
Yeah,
then he did this.
but where I completely agree with you 100% is we need a Dave Filoni in the animation thing who is there, who's not looking to quote graduate or move on to live action. That's not trying to do a stepping stone to something else, who wants to firmly like run animation and stay in it, and who's contributing to it in the same extent that Dave Filoni has been able to. So far, it's like we've got like people that come in, and then I still feel like they have like it sounds, the impression I get, could be wrong, is that they don't get to grow into Dave Filoni because they're always deferring to Dave Filoni. I think Dave Filoni needs to get the fuck out of animation. That's what I'm trying to say. He needs to do this or needs to do that. We need somebody who's completely like running it, like running one thing. Like, that's not to say you could only do one thing, because clearly we see having the thing where that's not true. But like Bad Batch isn't as good of a show as the Clone Wars or this for that very reason. And Bad Batch has had a lot going for it. As a kid, I love the A-Team. And there's no and Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven, and and it doesn't get to be because to use your word from earlier, it's a surface level A-Team. It hasn't grown into its A-Team cosplay. It's A-Team Star Wars cosplay adequately for me. I felt bad backing on Bad Batch, so I put it on, played it for a while, and I was just like, I don't love you. I just don't love you.
Where it loses me is when you have a whole minecart and you don't do it. I'm like, what is you got the pieces, like you can do the minecart, and really learn to pace the action, the shots, and create the energy, but it doesn't. It's all out here, and I just
If you are making stuff with minecarts in it for Lucasfilm, it's safe to say that the Lucasfilm people have seen it done better in a movie called Temple of Doom. So you don't fucking do it. Or you fucking do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you give it a go.
And it's probably and it's probably like when it was presented, it was probably like, we're gonna fucking do it. And then by the time they got to execute it, it was like, well, we have X amount of dollars, so this is what you can do now.
Hey,
and
man,
like,
it's gonna take some effort.
So we'd have to rewrite this whole weekend and make it a whole other script to make
Doctor
this whole
Strange
thing.
2's out. I got tickets. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, me and my wife got couples therapy Saturday afternoon, so sorry.
What are you, Alex Jones?
Yeah, pretty much. Buy my supplements.
We're going to the Georgia Guidestones. Gonna.
Yeah. Here's the truth, people. Is if you're working up here in San Francisco, there's a thing called Lucasfilm. It's in the water. It's a film that collects in your stomach lining. And if you take my new supplement, it's called Gatorade Zero with my urine in it. And you drink it, it will get rid of the film of your Lucasfilm around your tummy.
I don't know if you're aware of this. I wanted to change the name to Lucas Digital Video in 2002, but it was a lot of paperwork. So
Yeah.
I hate film. So
Yeah.
Whatever.
There's a purpose to this show that people in the chat seem to overlook. Anyhow, it's about two characters that end up in similar places but go down two completely different paths. You know what? I will take that. Yeah, they actually do.
One creates Darth Vader, and the other one gets created after Darth Vader kills him.
No, they are both Jedi who see the Jedi system for what it is at pivotal moments, get entangled in their war, and then one steps away from it and goes on her own path to do the Qui-Gon Jinn life. And then the other one goes and
you mean Ahsoka, right?
Ahsoka and Count Dooku.
Dooku and
No. It's two stories about two characters who are presented with the same flaw, and then how both of them react differently to it. But I will say you're completely right, Seth. I don't know if I would necessarily pat the show on his back for other than just placing the things together in the same thing in the same universe. Maybe it could have used a little bit more mirroring on that, but maybe it doesn't need it. I don't know, but I see the observation.
Needs more mirrors. A lot of mirrors.
It needs to rhyme. I need it to rhyme even more.
If you put enough mirrors in front of something, it makes it all look like it has more depth, doesn't it?
Maybe if we learned that Count Dooku's middle name was Basoka.
A lot of mirrors can make a small room look really big. That's all I'm saying.
Count Jerry Basoka Dooku. That's his full name.
I do think, man, like there's another version of the prequels, someone more talented directed, where they hired Alan Rickman to be Count Dooku, and that would have been brilliant,
Yeah, old Alan Rickman. They went with what was his name? What was the guy from In Treatment? HBO's In Treatment. Gabriel Byrne was a Count Dooku.
I was thinking End of Days.
yeah. He was a Dooku. Christopher Walken was a Dooku candidate. And then Christopher Lee was the number one choice, and they did get him.
I read Rogue Planet, man. Yeah,
oh well, that's still on you.
Oh man,
I enjoyed
the Sinar Tarkin conversations. That's it, which sort of in a way set me up for what Catalyst would eventually become. Right? I'm like, oh, they actually figured that part out, but. Yeah, man, not a good book.
Yeah. Well, no, but once again, Star Wars is an ongoing project, and so like things that, unless they do something that I just straight up don't like, Count Dooku's first name is Jerry, and he wants to own an ice cream business or something. With his apprentice Ben.
Yeah, with his buddy Ben.
Yeah.
And that was Obi-Wan's dad. That's where the name came from.
Right. Yeah. So unless they do something that you can't take back, like what's missing can always be put there, and that's what I like.
I'm just saying, Oral Knots If you're watching, we just gave you a hell of a fucking take.
Yeah.
Gave you one hell of a setup. Just letting you know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they handle Andor because it's slow, so it does there is more subtlety to work with, but then there's not a lot of like dance fighting stuff that you could like take and turn into like an ongoing quick gag, like with a quick like visual effect thing. But I hope they do something with it soon. I didn't think it was lackluster at all. It did exactly what it wanted to do at Planet Fitness. So my no
That's how I describe my sex life.
right that's where I agree with Seth in the sense that we can't critique it for what else it could have done. We need to critique it for what it did do. And I think the thing about it is the Dooku one, love it. Love the Dooku arc. The Ahsoka arc started too early for me. Like the Ahsoka baby thing, I didn't need it. And I don't know. I don't think they were going for like, hey, everybody loved Baby Yoda. People will love Baby Ahsoka. Or I don't want to go down the cynical path of those really cute baby dolls that they're making at Target now with like the little baby Ewok, little baby Wookiee. Like maybe they want to make a baby Ahsoka. There's not one out yet, but if there is one, then we see what this was really about. But I'm kidding. But I don't think it's like that. But it just I don't know. It was just like I didn't need to go back that far. Like anymore, like I don't really need to know about who Obi-Wan's parents really were. But when they did the thing with Obi-Wan, where like he's like, I remember having like a little brother. That's a fascinating moment to me, just in terms of the character and the Star Wars history, what it could mean, or even if it doesn't mean anything.
Kenobi. Can't wait.
Jeff?
Chat.
Oh, I think it's Jeff.
Oh,
I'm Jeff. I'm Jeff Kenobi. How's it going?
Kenobi.
Yeah. Hey, what, you guys want to go to Lake Havasu? No, we're
Look,
cool.
to
Jeff
be fair,
Kenobi.
if we're following Lucas standards, it would be Jif, because you got to name it after a food. So it's Jif Kenobi.
Jif PB Kenobi.
Uncle Ben's rice and Jif Kenobi.
Yeah, and his droid would be PB. His droid would be PB.
Yeah, PB,
Yeah.
PBWLCH.
No, but I don't know. It like I said, and for this is just
Max.
me. It doesn't.
Sorry.
I could obviously could only critique it for myself, but putting like Ahsoka, just like what she's doing like the days after and stuff like that, and like her story is so less interesting to me in this instance than the Count Dooku story. And this story didn't have Ahsoka rejecting the Jedi Order in it, whereas that's what you have. And so I think if these had told that story again or expanded, it would be cleaner. But it's not. It's like for her, it's like when she's a baby before she makes any choices for herself at all, and then it's like after. When she's kind of like, for the most part, we see her do the training during the Clone Wars, and then we see her after the Clone Wars when she's on the run. And so it's like the characters do share that link, but I don't know if as an anthology in this instance it's necessarily brilliant. You know what I mean? I see it though.
I think if you're a fan of this, you're gonna love it and be happy you got it. If you're someone like me who didn't care before, it ain't changing my mind. Like,
yeah, but I really cared before. And then, but like I said, it doesn't mean that I can't critique things for the good and it's bad,
right?
I try to say when it's good and when it's bad, and then after it, when all is said and done, how do I feel about it when everything is settled? Things that haven't settled yet, you know what I mean? For me to like really go like, be one of those YouTubers who's like, oh my god, everything's fucking shit or everything's genius. It's like, I don't think it really hits that hard for me, but I don't think it hits bad for me either. I have to see, like for instance, I really liked Visions when it came out, but I won't lie, I haven't fucking wanted to watch Visions since it came out. I haven't watched it again, and like
I've
so
watched
it's
it several
like
times, so.
Yeah, see, it works for you. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's where like on Visions, I'm always down for it when it hits, but I don't know if it's something. At least right now, it's not something where I'm like, it doesn't intrigue me beyond the enjoyment of seeing it. Seth says it's hard for me to explain right now. But if I have to, I'm going to say what you say. If I have to read a book, fuck it. No, but I get why they were doing with the first episode and why it was first. The show has to be some of my favorite Star Wars ever. That's great. That's really good. Hey KG,
They're
how's
British.
I hope you're how's the old husband doing? Pretty good, I hope. Star Wars animation just can't hook me like live action does.
I
Yeah.
don't know about that. I don't know about all that.
Mhm.
Again, I'm gonna say this right now, right? There are a lot of people, Jason, who feel the best Spider-Man movie ever made was Into the Spider-Verse.
Mhm.
So
I
I'm
would
just gonna
probably say that's the one I enjoy the most.
so what I'm gonna say is animation can be just as great as live action, if not better. It just you got to be creative. And so
Mhm.
when you try to treat animation as if it were live action, you're missing the point. You're
Mhm.
missing the point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I'm also somebody who's like I pretty much have enjoyed all of the general. I've enjoyed most of the modern endeavors with Star Wars and animation. Like overall, I haven't felt like I wasted my time. Like they usually redeem themselves for me. Like Bad Batch was one where I was like a little bit like at times I'm like, what are we doing right now, guys? But the beginning and the end kind of justifies it for me. But I also like Bad Batch isn't one where right now where I'm like I need to watch it and to know what happens next. I kind of don't. And but like the stories of like Count Dooku and stuff like that, like that's fascinating to me. Like Qui-Gon, Dooku, and that kind of shit. And so I'm glad it exists. Is what I'm trying to say. And Eric Denton says Tales of the Jedi was okay. By the way, Eric Denton watched Tales of the Jedi and then texted me. And I think it was a very important text conversation that should be read on the show because it's very important. Eric asked me, "Does Yoda have a disability?" Because Yaddle speaks normally, and I responded with the truth is, yeah, he's a fucking freak. And then Eric didn't say anything else. He didn't say anything. I was like, okay. But yeah, I always like in my head, I always like to imagine like Yoda fucking did some crazy ass shit and had some like mental gymnastics with some power and shit, and then came out on the other side like, oh, like wow, it's crazy, yo. But who knows? As the truth says, Bob Paycheck doesn't understand what his company is. I saw that. Did you see that, Rob? That comment?
what happened?
The gist of it is he says that animation isn't for adults.
Okay.
Or adults don't understand or want it or need or something like that. And it was like you are fucking high right now. I didn't mean like it's like so that means I should put Rick and Morty on for my kids.
Let's just get fucking 3-year-olds to animate this now. They could give every 3-year-old an AI app and they can just animate all their fucking films. I mean, I think what non-creatives don't understand, Jason, is that the people making this stuff feel the fulfillment and joy in creating it. They're fans of it. They're making the things they want to see. So adults are making animation, which means adults want to see the animation. So what you're really telling me is you and your fucking golf buddies aren't interested in this shit, and this is just like a big fucking, dick swinging contest for you. You know, and it's not limited to Paycheck. I mean, I've incurred this at almost every job I've ever had. Minus Toys for Bob, perfect. But
if you're running,
look at my career. Every fucking other place is filled with fucking assholes like that.
If you're running Walt Disney Studios, you should fucking know the value of fucking animation. You fucking idiots.
You think when Pixar, forget what you want about Lasseter and their shenanigans, right? But when Pixar wanted to do a CG animated film, you think it's because they weren't making that for themselves? Oh, for families. No. What's compelling you to make something? You want to see it. You want to see it. It's like saying when not Lucas, but when people try to tell me Star Wars is just for kids. No, an adult made it. An adult wanted to see it. To conjure this from nothing into something requires a tremendous amount of personal sacrifice and craziness and time and effort.
So how high
you want to will it?
How high were the people who created Boobas? Remember Boobas? Remember see that shit?
Mm.
Boobas, and these little blobs, and they just like fly around cosmically.
You were so high. I've never heard of
Mhm.
this cartoon. So.
Oh yeah, you should.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
maybe
one
you
day.
just saw that one.
One day.
I know them all. I've
the
never heard of this one.
during the pandemic, this chick I used to date, she was a big pot smoker, and I was like, you should watch Boobas. And she's like, she puts like, she texts me back like, what the fuck is this? And then like 3 months later, I like show up at her house. She's like fucking like all stoned. And she's like watching Boobas, like totally serious though. And it was like yeah, Boobas different. But no, but I agree with you though. And it's like, but just to me, you want to know what it says to me? That he sees how much the Mandalorian makes, and then he sees how much like in their mind what their estimation is in live action, and then he sees like what Tales of the Jedi makes or Visions, and he's like, no, adults don't care because this gives me lots of money. That means adults don't care about the other thing. I bet you it's that fucking dense and stupid.
Yeah,
At the
well,
end of the day.
you know something? The people who are really going to suffer are the shareholders. So fuck them. I mean, this guy will come and go. We lived through an Eisner. You know what I mean? The good and the bad versions of him.
Yeah.
You know, and the Katzenbergs.
Hey,
and everything
Eisner
else,
still
and
got
this
us
dude-
Indiana Jones. Eisner, he did some good in the world.
No, the good and then the bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's the good Eisner, and then there's the Eisner that made Lion King 4, 5, 6,
When-
7, and 8 on DVD.
When Eisner was at Paramount before Disney, I think. Yeah, before Disney. But no, 100%. I mean, this guy though, I don't know, just seems like more and more like a shithead all the time. You know?
Yeah, well, you know, if you look like a thumb and you act like a thumb,
Mhm.
you know,
I'm a
probably have to
toe.
Thumb up your own ass.
I'm a big toe.
Thumb
The old
wars.
fucking Thumb Wars. The old Republic says the best Spider-Man movie ever is the first one with Toby in the suit. End of discussion. Rest is just
The one where-
copycat
the
wannabes.
one where Hobgoblin or Green Goblin has like the Power Ranger suit. He doesn't. He kills his face. Don't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The real shame of that movie is that they, you know, when you see the makeup test where they had the animatronic Hobgoblin face or the Green Goblin face and it looked great, and then someone at Sony went no. And that's exactly what happened. They were like, no.
Yeah.
No.
It was probably Bob Paycheck.
No, it was probably
Intern Bob Paycheck. No, they're like, you know what? This kid has ideas. Promote him. And then here we go. Here we are.
He was
Yeah,
too busy
no.
making that Little Mermaid ride.
The best
Or
the
Bill
best Spider-Man
California.
ever is from the Electric Company. End of story. Planet Fitness says a side effect with ketamine is speech disorder. Perhaps Yoda took one too many. I mean, that is 800 years for a lot of partying. If you could party for 800 years, you're going to end up with a couple of missing limbs eventually. Something. Yoda and Coke. Super freak. Oh, God. Imagine that motherfucker. That guy would Sonic the Hedgehog the fuck out of Coruscant. Buildings would be coming down as he's like going up and down and around. Bricks and shit are flying off. Bricks are flying, killing people as he goes down the street. Yeah. You cannot give Yoda any kind of upper. Bad idea. Eric says, I was wondering if poor BDH was going to have Yoda up before the episode started. Bryce Dallas Howard, if Yaddle was going to be like, hey, come on, dude. Let's just do it. Let's pick a baby Yoda.
She's like, I don't want to say it. I'm not going to make this joke. I'm not doing it.
Today, I woke up. I was like, it feels like a slow news day. And then I watched Star Wars Meg's video, and it was like, is Yaddle Baby Yoda's mom? And I was like, here we are.
Yeah, we're at Bat Boy, right? She's almost like the National Enquirer for Star Wars, right? If you see that at the checkout line, you got to buy that copy of Star Wars National Enquirer every time, right?
Yeah.
You can't help yourself. You got to know.
Kingers Yoda wrecked a land speeder in his late 400s and suffered a traumatic head injury. He's never been the same since. Polar Express is by far the best animated project ever, way before its time tech-wise. Are you trolling us right now?
Yeah, he's
Oh yeah, speaking of today, Tyrant messaged me like like logo or something, and it's like awful. But like, I didn't. Anybody saw like in his message before I even looked at it. He's like, I sent this to Rob too, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, the first iteration of something can be bad. I don't know. So I was just like, hey, you're getting somewhere with what you got going on, and then and I was like, well, Rob's like gonna have like constructive feedback. I'm either just gonna know it don't look right, or it do Dooku, or it don't. You know,
Dooku,
it don't, or it Dooku.
Joe
He making-
Dooku is his brother, right?
Yeah.
Who has like a hillbilly brother played by David Spade. He's not proud of.
Remember in the 80s when all of the cokeheads would go, he's making buku bucks. Well, I'm gonna make some Dooku
you
bucks.
think Lucas could have called him Buku and he was like the really rich Jedi?
Buku. Buku, but he's balling. He's a count.
That would have made way more sense. The one Jedi who owns shit. Everyone has nothing, but that guy Buku owns it all.
Oh yeah, he's got a whole currency called buku bucks.
I'll address this really quick.
Yeah, I meant to read it.
Right, peacefully. You want to read it?
Okay, Rob. I want to believe that all artists love the art they are working on, but I have seen too much shit that tells me that some of these artists hate fuck their passion out on some projects for a paycheck, a Bob paycheck. Some do, maybe.
You want to? Am I supposed to, with every statement, Tyrant, get into the complexities of life, or dig down in the minutia of what any one person could be feeling at any given moment in their career? Yes. Everyone loves and hates their work. Yes, we live in a society where we have to earn an abnormal amount of money to live, and animation and art rarely pays enough of those bills. What I'm trying to tell you is, and this is proven, is that no amount of money motivates an artist to finish anything or to make their best work. You can pay them well, you can pay them really well and still end up with shit. You know, so that isn't the secret ingredient. Although everyone should be paid fairly and proportionate to, you know, what the project is earning.
I know where you're wrong. I know where you're wrong, because they put a lot of money in the metaverse, and it's one of the best things ever created.
Right. So I would also say this. I just love it when people don't tell me how people draw things. Like, it's really great. That's my favorite. It's artist explaining Rob. Like, all right, whatever.
I mean,
I don't know, man.
Do we know
that
Tyron doesn't draw? I don't know Tyron draw.
He just moves things around in Mid-Journey and then calls it art. He's funny, man. He's a typer.
Gloves are off.
He's a typer, you know. So he's gonna replace me. You'll see.
As the truth says, has he done anything positive during his tenure yet? Well, he did tell Kathy Kennedy, sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. With that article, by the way, for the record, doesn't really even say that, but that's what YouTube has now moved on.
Yeah, I took a little break off social media the past few days. So when I saw that story going around, I'm like, I have a feeling that quote isn't accurate.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Just because it's, I don't know. So what did that? Do we have it? Do we actually know what was
it's
actually
behind
said?
I've seen it. It's behind a paywall, but he basically advises her. Basically says, you know, we probably shouldn't say too much about any of the projects at the current events that we're going to do, which was Celebration and D23, until they're really in motion, you know, until they're going. And like that was like in it, just advised her, but people who didn't read it made it sound like he was like, shut the fuck up and sit down, you fucking whore. It's Bob Paycheck time. And Bob Paycheck is laying down the fucking law. And Kathy Kennedy was like, oh my God, you're such a man. I'll do whatever you say. I like it when you take charge, unlike Frank Marshall, who doesn't know how to do me right no more.
You sound like Mouth when he's doing the move in Goonies.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. All right. Does it give me a big kiss?
I watched Goonies with the kids the other day, and with the part where Mouth is speaking in Spanish and like, you know, saying put the cocaine in this drawer and that. I'm like laughing, and like I had to explain the joke to my kids. I'm like reading the subtitles, and they're just like, it's just not funny, Dad. I'm like, it's fucking hilarious, man. And it's been funny since I was like 4, and they didn't think it was funny at all.
It's not their humor.
They just did not get it.
It's how you know you've aged out. Right.
I mean, it was funny to me when I was 4. It's funny to me when I'm 43. So whatever, kids, all idiots.
I guess they grew up in a world where seeing scared immigrants, you know what I mean, wasn't a funny thing, Jason.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
When the government's at the border with their guns pointed at them, I guess we all forgot that happened a few years ago. You know?
Fair enough. But As a True says, has he done anything positive during his tenure yet? And I think it's not really as much as what he's done as what he hasn't done has been it maybe, but he did. I think he is likely, if what we've heard is true, is responsible for Galaxy's Edge never being what it could have been or should have been. And then us getting that fucking hotel that was a bastardization of the very concept. And so
I forgot about it.
yeah. But to be fair, I've never heard something like a Star Wars movie had content changed or wasn't made because of him or anything like that. But also on that one article, that it kind of infuriated me, like I said, is it starts off by saying it is practically negligent how little Lucasfilm has done in the context of what Marvel has done, kind of argument basically. And it's like, no, that's not what they weren't tasked with doing that. They weren't. And like we always say, it's a lot easier to put Tony Stark in jeans and a t-shirt and be like, here's your fucking scene in an office. Star Wars, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. They don't move on the same timelines.
Everything has to be made.
And
designed.
they weren't supposed to be making Star Wars movies. They were supposed to give Star Wars movies a rest. It was to let the brand regenerize a little bit. Regenerize? Is that a word?
Well, after 2 seasons of Mando, they regenerized, and then they could have. I'm not going to say it. You know what they could have done. You know.
Yeah, for you better not say it. Seth Nico says 2 hours until MW2 launches in the UK. I don't know what that is.
Modern Warfare.
Oh, Modern Warfare 2. Yeah.
I'm
out here on the front lines of the Star Wars culture wars. Think I have time for that Digital War 2, Seth Nico? Not this year.
It's 37 days until Need for Speed Unbound launches.
Oh, really?
Can't wait. Mm-hmm.
About an hour and a half until Bestman Bulletin and Jason do their weeklies in Fortnite and get some more experience. Eric Ten says, if you could party for 800 years, talk as good you will not. Do you think he's always drunk?
Say this.
He's eternally drunk?
I just think he did really well at a freestyle night one night, and no one's been able to touch Yoda since, and he just picked that up. That's how he talks now. You know,
right.
I mean, who could beat that?
Yeah,
Yoda man.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe. I at this point though, to be serious, if they don't put in some kind of mystical mind gut fucking change, went on some crazy journey with shrooms thing down the road, I'd have to think that maybe Yoda is on his planet longer than Yaddle. Like maybe Yaddle's not born on their home world, or Yaddle was found younger or identified earlier or something like that. Who knows? But
it's just one of those weird things Lucas did in the Phantom Menace. And then, like everybody else, like not everything else, but in a lot of ways, with the prequels, never did anything with. Just went away.
No.
And everyone else has been left to deal with. Like what was that fucking thing?
No. Lucas never had her speak. So the actual issue here is the fact that she speaks like a normal Jedi. Hey, how's it going? My name's Yaddle. Want to get dinner at Dex's Diner? Whereas he is like, oh, Dex's Diner it is. You know, he's a fucking maniac. So
what I'm trying to say is she just didn't appear in the other 2 films. She just goes away, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, because they didn't want to put the CGI puppet next to this next to the physical puppet of Yaddle, and they couldn't pay to make a CGI Yaddle at that time.
It's one of those weird things.
Yeah. No. Yeah. When he was making Phantom Menace, he did not anticipate. They went to Celebration and promised us Yoda would never be CGI. If somebody was CGI, they would always be CGI. If they were a puppet, they'd always be a puppet. And it's like, nope. Very.
Yeah.
Jedi Mike says
I
parents.
forget. I remember that.
Yeah, looks like he goes buku. Oh yeah, parents spends the buku bucks for sure that his wife makes. Tyrant says Bob Paycheck spending his free time doing rails with Zaslav on the golf course, playing who can be the bigger drain on investors. Yeah,
I can say this though, at least Zaslav, has hired James Gunn and Peter Safran to run a studio. Like that is something that the dude at least put together. That's a positive thing,
yeah.
So that's a creatively positive thing, and I just don't see anything Paycheck's done, that gets even close to it. So
Yeah, as far as I know from what I can see, I've never there hasn't been anything, but I'm also not like a fucking crazy Disney person who's like, well, actually, the what do you call it wouldn't have happened without him and shit like that. All right, so this is important. This
wanted to replace
literally
Dole Whips with Bob Dole Whips. Oh no. No.
I was talking about this on the show. I knew this guy, and I was calling him the guy who would fucking drink your blood in that jail the other night. I was like,
right.
But this guy from Batman, he's the guy in the jail. This is him right here. That's him.
I typed to you. I was like, didn't you hear about Johnny Dobbs, man? I heard the Axis got him. He's like, hey, Johnny Dobbs took a walk out his bunk. Yeah, took a walk out his bunk and got fried.
Yeah.
There ain't no Axis.
There ain't no oh man. There ain't no bat.
Oh man. There ain't no Andor. Nah.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, it is him. It is him. The bat.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought was he eating Kool-Aid packets right before he started? Were they like sucking on lollipops or something? He's got a real red tongue. Like look at that.
Oh
and
man.
That's Kool-Aid. Fun dip.
Stick it out with the fucking Joker.
Yeah.
There he is now.
Yeah.
Fucking Batman put him there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Batman put me here. I don't know. I fell through a dimensional rift and now I'm in this prison.
Now I kind of look like Skeletor. He's got a good Skeletor face.
Yeah, he does.
I feel sorry for that dude. He's on borrowed time. He's already fucking up a leg on that machine and shit. He's just I'm never his age with the way he's working and his time in. He's not looking good.
Seth says Star Wars Twitter is worse than normal right now. What's going on? In my opinion, Star Wars Twitter is two things. It's either narcissistic, people who want to listen to themselves fart via text, or it's people looking for validation and they're never going to find it. And some people are both. And
parking validation?
Yeah. That I wish it was parking validation, but
I know it's stupid.
Yeah. So it's just fucking terrible. It's not fun. But the Lucasfilm Civil War is ongoing, thanks to Bob Paycheck. Planet Visit Jason, did you see the week 2 Andor Nielsen ratings that just got released? It beat out She-Hulk and did some other popular shows once again. Oh no, I didn't see that, but that's good news because obviously there's a part of me that doesn't really care how it does as long as I like it. But there's another part of me that is like, when Star Wars is successful, I'll get more. So I want it to be successful.
Yeah, the only thing they look at, man, is when people subscribe, what the first thing they watch is. That means to them, that's the reason why people subscribe. So if we got a new subscriber during the period after Andor comes out, if the first thing they watch is Andor, then that means that show is bringing us new people. I don't agree with this philosophy.
No, I
had some folks at work at Netflix try to fucking rob.
Yeah, that's
hey man, you gotta know how it works. I'm like, you're gonna hit a limit where it's impossible to grow, so that shouldn't be your barometer,
At Disney, they care about a couple of random and different metrics as well. At Netflix, though, Netflix was like, we saw Netflix run itself into the ground, all the while WB was trying to emulate it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. So it's like, It's like
if Paycheck really wanted to flex, he'd make a documentary about, or like a show about that, right?
Yeah.
Like, just to be like, that's, bad flicks or
No,
dumb flicks. Flicks
they
bros.
they pay attention also to how many accounts are on a Disney Plus account and how many various accounts watch those shows too. So
All right.
if you're ever trying to inflate your Disney numbers because you're like you really like Mandalorian season 1 or something, yeah, go on your kids account and hit play on that one too. If you're ever like, hey, I want something on the background, but I want to support the show, do it on all of the accounts that you own. It helps it. I don't really recommend doing that. I think that's pretty much a waste of time. But if you were for some reason doing that, that's what you should do. Yeah.
Filoni's racing to his Roku right
Hey.
now.
Old man Star Wars Obsession is here. How's it going, Obsession? How are you, dude?
SWO.
Yep. I see the obsession again. He's got obsession in his eyes. Also, it's a new Star Wars cologne by Filoni. Obsession by Filoni. It smells like macaroni and cheese. King Chris says, Perrin definitely beer bongs 40s of Old English. Yeah, he does. He does. He criticizes the quality of the beer, but then you will definitely see him drinking like Amstel Light. As the truth says, you now live in a world where the whole generation of kids love CGI Yoda and not puppet Yoda. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I like both. I like, we saw Phantom Menace Yoda wasn't good originally. And then now it's very good CGI. And then,
Jason, I understand this problem, but I want everyone to know I recently had a child.
yeah,
and he only likes Mid-Journey Yoda, and it's a Yoda that has a different
George?
weird. Yeah,
George, you had a daughter.
Mid-Journey
You had a
Yoda.
daughter. George, you had a daughter.
Yeah, she, yeah. Well, I don't really look, so I just,
I know you don't see gender. You said
we
that
put
before.
it in a Mando outfit, and I haven't been able to tell gender for a year now. But yeah. So they only like Mid-Journey Yoda with weird eyes and hands coming out of its face, and it's never the same Yoda twice.
I was at George's gender reveal party, and the big explosion came out, and green smoke went everywhere, and everyone was confused.
Yeah. Well, we also played the music at the pod race after, and it all worked out. Yeah. I have it. It's on cue. It's ready to go here at the ranch. All right.
Well,
Well,
bye, George.
I'm gonna go hate myself. Bye.
Seth Nichols says it's full of all that and snobs talking down and judging everything else because of Andor. Yeah, like that is like that. That flow goes both ways. Like for all that Andor does right, when you're criticizing the thing that it is against the thing that it is, it's like the house divided upon itself cannot stand, right? I mean, in this instance right here, that's kind of what we have is we have like Star Wars catering to a different audience, that you can't go and like shit on the Mandalorian because Andor's quality, or if you like Mandalorian, shit on Andor because it's not adventure like Mandalorian. It just goes to show you in some ways, like as media literate as like Star Wars fans are, some of them are just fucking dense and just do not understand genre. I have to think it's maybe the people who only watch Star Wars, who don't watch anything outside of Star Wars and get everything through it, maybe, or maybe they're just idiots. I can't tell. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, what I'm trying to say is a bet. Come on, right? Right?
Johnny Dobbs took a walk out his bunk and fried himself. Okay? Shut up! I get his tube of stuff. Comes in my office now.
Yeah.
I want his tube flavor. What kind of flavor do you think they win? Like sour cream and chives, or?
I think it's actually Batman cereal flavor.
I am fascinated with what flavor they win. Do they get?
When I actually imagined it, I just kind of imagined that they added sugar to Malto Mill. I imagine like the food tube was like Malto Mill without any sugar in it, And then when they,
grits in the South, Jason.
yeah,
Malto meal is better with butter and salt, but not sugar.
Mm.
So you know.
yeah, malto meal. Never liked it as a kid. Had it once as an adult and was like, I kind of liked it with brown sugar, a little bit of brown sugar on it. It was okay, but
Americans.
but I don't.
Sugar in it.
But I got to be honest, malto meal is what I imagine when I imagine being in a space prison. Okay, so that goes to show you my opinion of malto meal. my mom would do this thing where I'm like, I want oatmeal. We got malto meal. It's the same thing. Fuck you, it ain't. Mom, I want some milk with my cereal. We got powdered milk. It's the same. No, it's not. It tastes like water. At least when you make it, Mom. Piece of shit.
Makes for a creamy mac and cheese, though.
Powdered milk?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, okay. Wait, because you can like whip it into a froth or something? I don't know.
Put it in there, man. I don't know.
Okay.
Probably because it's got a stabilizer in there, you know? Probably.
Yeah. Wait, isn't that what happens like on the spaceships? Like the stabilizer goes out?
No, when you make ice cream, you got to put a stabilizer in. That's what gives it the mouth feel. So I imagine powdered milk also has some form of stabilizer. But I haven't looked at the ingredients, and I will now, Jason, because
well, what if powdered milk is the shortcut to getting a stabilizer cheap? I don't know. Stabilizer cheap? I don't even know. Planet Fitness says the Old Republic, considering how awful prequels were, I don't think George would have made a good sequel trilogy. Well, if you go and by saying how awful the prequels were, you could bet your ass you weren't going to see a sequel trilogy that you liked better from George. George wasn't going to make the sequel trilogy better than the prequels. They were just going to be just like them.
Would he have made it better than Red Tails? That's the question.
Red Tails isn't. I don't think Red Tails is bad.
I didn't say it was bad. I said would it be better than Red Tails? That's the question.
No, it would be that's a very George Lucasy thing. I think it'd be just like that. I think it would be just like
I really do think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is your barometer for what his sequels would have played out like. So if you like Kingdom, you probably would have liked the sequels. If you didn't, I
actually take the opinion that the problem with Crystal Skull is that one, the contention between Spielberg, not that there was tension, but contention about the direction, about where to go, where to take it. Just instead, nobody has a vision that like makes sense. It's like two movies, it's like cut in half almost, and it just like so. I almost feel like George Lucas should have directed Crystal Skull, and Spielberg should have just produced that one.
I told you that months ago or a month ago, and you were like, "No," and I'm like, "Yeah, I think he should have made it himself."
If you told me that, you planted that seed in my mind, and I have changed my mind, and I agree with you.
If you go back to episode, you're like, and I'm like, Jason. He should have just gone full Lucas on that one because Spielberg was not into it. There was no reason to.
Like the first hour of the movie is, for me, perfect. I wouldn't change anything about the first hour of the movie. When we go into the second hour of the movie is when I'm like,
well, my real theory on or rationalization for that thought was that he was so specific about the saucer men in the 50s. Like Lucas was the one with the vision.
He had a vision for it.
You can't when you're that tied to something, you got to be the person to make it, Jason. As a creative, you can't be like, it's my. I really fucking want to make Bohemian Rhapsody, but I want you to make it. You know what I mean?
Rob, I want you to write a song just like We Are the Champions for me.
Right. And I'm telling you, you just got to do it this, and it needs to be exactly this way. And you're like, I don't get. Just, you fucking do it. You know?
Yeah.
So.
King Chris says cream of wheat versus malto meal. To be honest with you, they're the same thing in my brain. I can't remember what the difference is in my head.
Do you think if Lucas had done Crystal Skull on his own, do you think he would have shot it mostly on blue screen and green screen, even like the 50s diner and stuff? Like, or do you think he would have gone out to location?
Dexter's Diner was a diner. He made Dexter's Diner, but
on set though. It was on set. It wasn't like out in the real world. I think he would have built it all on set.
I think he would have built it
in a warehouse.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I think he would. I think he would have done the whole movie. You know, like, look, I'm just saying, like, it would have been good or bad. It would have been more interesting than the 50-50. You know what I mean? I prefer all in crazy versus milquetoast. That's just how, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm okay, like with Star Wars. We said there's always been the THX 113 side of it, and then there's always been the eccentric side, and there's always been the mythic side, and there's always been the cowboy side, the western side, and there's always there's always been the medieval side. All of these things have always been a part of it, and someone will just decide if they're not in the mood for one flavor of that was never a part of it, and it's this other thing. It's like, no, it's all of these things. It's just depending on what it's going to be. It's multi-mill. Sometimes it's lumpy. Sometimes it's creamy. But sometimes...
Dale, all I gotta say, man, is never drink your milk lumpy. All right? Dale, come on.
Hey, Meg, as long as we made you come, that's all that matters. Dell says, I kept telling the cook, leave the lumps in it. I think lumpy or creamy might be Chewbacca's other kid. Lumpy, itchy, creamy.
Creamy's the one Chewbacca had on Space Miami. Like when he had one spring break, he went to Space Miami.
Yeah.
He dropped a creamy, you know.
Seth Nichols says, just opened the Twitter app, scrolled down, and found exactly the type of Andor tweet I was just talking about, laughing my ass off. Yeah, let's not drop it in here. I don't want to point anybody out and have anybody feel victimized. Yeah, I was a victim. I said something in a public forum, and then the people pointed it out. But
also, Seth,
yeah,
Twitter only shows you more of what you want to see, so think about it. You know, maybe you should, if you don't want to see this stuff, all you have to do is mute it, and it will stop showing you these things. So
yeah.
It's a mirror. It's a mirror on a mirror, Jason. It's a mirror. It's the mirror episode.
I know. I was thinking the other day. I was like, Megs, Jason, have you ever played a bass 6? I just got one a few months ago, and it's a perfect tool for truly rich chords. No, I haven't. It sounds cool though. But I gotta send Meg demos and then see if she's like, I want to play bass on these. I should do that. And then if she doesn't like it, she doesn't. I won't be offended. Excuse me. Eric then says, better late than not at all. At least that's what my wife says. No, come on, Eric. You know she's never said that you did the job. Come on, dude. Let's be honest. I'm just kidding. I think I was gonna DM you. No, definitely don't DM Mike. Don't do it. Every time I do it, he sends me that Yaddle picture with the Yaddle fleshlight. Don't do it. I'm kidding. Dylan says your focus determines your reality, Rob. Or Rob. Oh, Qui-Gon didn't say that. Rob said it. So it's a 6-string bass with jazz master body, basically. Perfect for guitarists who want a bassier sound. Oh, that's interesting. I used to find that kind of thing interesting, and then like that new metal wave happened with like 7-string guitars and shit, and I was like, fuck all of this. I'm back to basics. But yeah, the old like
I remember the one in the 80s that was like which like had like 2 strings. It was digital. Remember that one? It had like a little fins in the back, but it was like nothing was on it. And you were like, "What is?"
Oh,
that?
where it's like a digital fretboard where it just like knows where you touch on thing. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That was around the time they came up with that digital Etch-a-Sketch. I could never fucking make work either. But
yeah. I have a jazz bass that I usually like. I used to like lay my tracks down with, but. Somebody has it, and I have their acoustic guitar, which is this little Fender acoustic, and I like it though. I want my bass back, but I'm not like in a rush to get it back because I don't really want to give up that acoustic. I like it, but Jedi Mike says, "Watch out! You may join Resistance if you DM me." Well, I don't know what's going on here, but it sounds like a revolution. But I got to go and get the old kids because today they're off school. They're getting out of school. And I gotta take them. Oh, okay. You guys want? Wait, I think I talk a little something about Willow, or should I wait till tomorrow? Should we say the Willow for tomorrow?
It's too late. We did an hour and 20, Jason.
We
put in more effort than Tales of Jedi today. Just saying.
Well, this is cool though. All right. We'll save it for tomorrow. I was hoping that they were gonna send the screeners, so I don't really want to like spoil anything and then ruin like getting the screeners for it. But you could send it to me, Disney, and I won't say anything. Anyways, this is called blackmail. No, I'm kidding. My Harmony Pine Top acoustic is my family. That's cool. Send me a picture of it, Mike. I want to see it. Rest in peace, Yaddle. Poor Yaddle. Yeah, I know. I was like I'm of the opinion that it's a bigger disservice to Yaddle to just have her be a fucking line in a High Republic novel. So she had to die. But once again, we saw Andor die, and look at all the Andor we got. So maybe we'll get some good Yaddle stuff someday down the road. You never know. Actually, Rob, I know where you're coming from, but when you see the episode, I think you'll think like Yaddle's pretty cool, man. I think you'll be like, you know what, the Seattle business is pretty
Only
cool.
if she comes back as a puppet. I love it when little Grogu's like as a puppet is jumping around rocks and shit. You could, you know, you're like, look how they make that work. It, you know, like you can see the strings where they paint it out, but I love it. Like I only want Yaddle as a puppet. I want all the Gungans to be fuzzy puppets, Jason. You know what I mean? I want more puppets. So.
Well, yeah, I did know that, Meg, because Yaddle said, Yoda once said, "Old bitches fuck, I do not." So that was just my assumption.
We all knew Yaddle was younger when she's as smooth as an ice cream cone, and Yoda wasn't. You know.
She's got some teeth, though, man. I gotta admit, I don't think I'd let her do it, man. When you watch Phantom Menace, dude, she got some little fucking nubs in there, like, you know. So
maybe they retract and then pop it. You know what I mean? They see. There's always a creative way you can get around it, Jason.
The science fiction, you can do anything. You can do anything. But anyways, Rob, I think you might be like, you know what, guys? This Seattle stuff's pretty cool. when you watch the other one, I just want you to tweet out when you say it. You know what, guys? This Seattle stuff's pretty cool. Give it time.
Alrighty. I told you I just want my techno union guy to be running.
Wat Tambor.
And he has to turn the knob while he yells and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think what we're going to
want Jeffrey Tambor to play Wat Tambor.
I always think that in my head too, and I think he's going to be like, my mistress has died, and then he's going to have like, that's why he turns to the dark side. That's why he joins Count Dooku, because
bitches get snitches.
Yeah, and at the end he realizes Count Dooku killed the woman I love, and then he goes crazy. But we're talking about yesterday. We always like that he doesn't go down like a bitch though. He's like the last separatist. He's like what? He's fucking doing some like fucking football moves and shit against Anakin. He doesn't go down like a bitch.
It's that same scene where Bix is running, but it's him and he's turning the knob. So everyone run if they're coming to get him. And they can't hear because he's like, only person who understands him is Bima. Bima goes, I understand.
Wat is home. Maybe that's why Yoda talks weird. Yoda got a toothy Sarlacc from Yaddle and never recovered. Yeah, that makes sense. Eric.
Let's leave it there. We can never. This is all great. Right. Everyone's
tomorrow you guys could all share your.
That is the one.
your green stinky pinky theories with us tomorrow. Okay. And we'll talk about some Willow or something tomorrow at least. I'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll have a good time. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Thank you, Rob, for watching the Star Wars cartoon with us. It means a lot. It means a lot.
I'll give it a shot again.
All right. We'll see everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Be cool. Stay in school.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.